Welcome back to the Overcomer Podcast. I am your host, JENICKA Lopez. Thank you guys so much for choosing to listen and watch to today's episode. If you guys clicked on today's episode, you know what today is. It is my mother's 13-year anniversary of her passing. I am pre-recording this because your girl is busy and has things to do, but these are what my emotions have been throughout this year. Why do I get emotional and like the chills right away when I talk about this? And like what today's episode is about being grief being a little bit different this year, because if you've been a fan or you have been part of the podcast group or have seen and listened to the episodes for years now, you guys know that I do this episode every year. This is about the fourth one, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But last year I did do an episode, and you guys can rewatch it. But it was an episode where I was drinking, and it was almost on the same day. Whatever. That's the point is that it's an annual episode. Last year I did drink, and I do want to acknowledge that also, if you guys have been a part of the podcast family for a while, that I did realize a lot that I was drinking a lot, and I didn't recognize that for a long time because I used it as something to help me cope, which wasn't healthy. I had to learn that I couldn't just use alcohol and weed to really cope with my emotions and just use it as an excuse to help my anxiety. And because I'm sitting here or talking to other people, I get very anxious and nervous, and imposter syndrome comes in, and I feel like I don't belong, or I don't need, I shouldn't be doing this. So I start drinking, and it makes me nervous. Not that I have a problem drinking or anything, because I know my limits, but I don't want to turn to alcohol for that reason. But anyways, if you guys watched last year's episode, you guys know that it was a very emotional one, a tender one. I cried through the whole episode, had a drink, and honestly, it was kind of a mess. Yeah, but I'm not ashamed of it, because I know that now where I'm at here, sitting here, I know that there's growth, and I acknowledge, that version of me was grieving differently, and this version of me is grieving differently too. And it feels different. It feels healthier. It feels better. And last year, I pressed the record button while crying. I had a group of my friends inside a room, and we just, talked and cried. And I also was in an emotional state where it just wasn't healthy. I was in a relationship that I probably shouldn't have been in. So I also felt very alone, or in a relationship with someone that didn't really understand my grief. And I think that bothered me too. So it led me to drinking. I don't know. But anyways, I felt like I didn't really know how to talk about my mom without falling apart, or I felt guilty for still hurting so long after, because now it's 13 years and last year was 12. I coped with things differently last year. I thought would numb the pain, drinking, isolating, smoking weed. The last 3 months of last year of 2024 was very eye-opening, and I'm so proud of where I'm at right now. Obviously, I still miss her, but I'm not really drowning in it anymore. The waves come here and there, but I really learned to sit with my emotions instead of trying to escape them. And I'm not ashamed of my healing or my growth, because I know that I'm meant to go through these things, so that it's part of my testimony. It's part of what I'm supposed to be talking about and supposed to be healing. And as long as I show up for myself, I think that's what matters. And I feel like my grief was running a lot of my life, my identity. And I think that this year I'm really taking control of it. And I've had people in my life that have had people pass away. And it made me realize even more now that grief doesn't need to look like anyone else's or anybody else's journey. I've said it before that it's not linear. It's not a straight path. It goes this way, that way. People do it, cope differently, heal differently. And it's not a competition either of who's better. And I do not want to make it sound like that I have it all together, that I have figured it out. I'm just saying that this year feels very different than the last years. And it has taken forever to get here. It has taken forever to actually realize, like, wow, I'm not letting this pain control me anymore. I'm not letting it like drown me or like define my day. Because I feel like when it's that day, when it's December 9th, like I have to automatically go into sadness, because what happens is that people are like, are you even sad that your mom died? Like, wow, she's not really happy. Like, she's not really sad. Like no, grief is handled differently in different ways and different perspectives. And you cannot be one to judge unless you have been in my position. And you have to learn to live with loss. Like, you have to learn. I'm a person that has a hard time with change. And when my mom passed away, that was like a shock to me. It was a shock to my body. It was a shock to my life. And it was very surprising, and it really changes the person that you are. But your version may not look like mine. Maybe you still cry every day. Maybe you're still numb. Maybe you avoid it, or maybe you laugh about it and then you feel guilty after. You laugh about like your memories or where you are in your life right now, and you feel guilty about living and being happy. Or maybe it's just slower for you, or maybe it's faster for you. You'll be like, Jenicka, you're talking about it again? Yes, you guys, my journey is very different. There's no right or wrong. It's just about honesty and vulnerability. And I've learned that in managing my emotions, I stopped expecting myself to get over it, because I realized I wasn't really over it. It's something that you graduate from. It's something that you grow around and you accustom to it, like anxiety. Grief is like that. I let myself feel without judging the feelings, without being so hard on myself, like, hey, like, snap out of it. Like, no, you have to sit with yourself and be okay with it. And know that if I'm sad, I'm sad. If I'm not okay, I'm not okay. If I am okay, I'm okay, and not feel guilty about it. This year I found a lot of healthier outlets, going to church frequently, serving, and my purpose. I've journaled. I've worked out more. I've showed up for myself. I actually talk to friends. I don't just sit there and wallow in my... That was like a Grinch thing. I was going to say wallow in my self-pity. Anyway, and sometimes I just sit in silence and I just breathe and I cry if I have to. And I've learned to really talk to God and really allow him to soften my heart and bring peace. Because when you experience loss, you get really, really angry with God. And you blame. We always want to find somebody to blame other than the fact that it's just life. The fact that there's free will and there's also the forces of nature. And it's not like that God can't stop it, but it's also understanding he allowed me to go through this. He allowed me to experience this because this is going to be a part of my story. This is going to be a part of who I'm going to be and lead people and grieve with them and find healing for them and healing for myself. And really showing up for myself this year and cutting out a lot of friendships that would lead me to like this type of sadness or darkness again has bettered me and really showing up for me. I'm putting myself first because I'm such a people pleaser, that I knew and I know that I'm such a people pleaser that I would sacrifice anything just to keep people around because of the loss that I experienced. And I was so scared of losing people, but I also acknowledge and recognize that a lot of people are meant to be in your life or to be a part of every single journey. And sometimes grief is meant to be experienced alone and in your own healing and in your own way and process, so that way you don't compare it to everybody else. As like these days come by, December 9th or any anniversary or any situation where I find myself sad, I also remind myself that Jesus cried and grieved too. He had a friend in the Bible who was his brother, Lazarus. If you guys know, Lazarus died and then Jesus brought him back to life. Jesus grieved him and was sad, knowing that he was going to bring him back to life. That's crazy to me. And it's not because that Jesus lacked faith or whatever. Jesus wept. That one short line in the Bible, Jesus wept. But it's because he lost something that he loved so much that it hurt him. And along with all the boundaries and emotions that Jesus had and responsibility, let's say, that he had to do, he stepped away to be alone. And when the time came, after all the grief and managing his emotions, like we have to, he was brought back to life. And it changed the history of the Bible and the story of our lives in general, just to see how powerful God can be. And I apply that same story to my life. Like, yeah, like I lost somebody, but look at the life that I gained. Look at how beautiful, like, even when I didn't think that I was going to make it, because I genuinely thought that I wasn't going to, guys. Like, I really thought that, like, this is the end for me. Like, I cannot put myself to succeed any longer. I can't force no. And then I look back and I'm like, right now that I'm sitting here right now, I am so grateful for every single part of my testimony, for every single part of my grief that I have experienced, because all that led up to this. All that led up to me feeling proud of myself. I had never felt proud of myself until I turned 28. I'm so proud of where I am with the life that I've created. And I'm not saying that it's the best life or that I'm better than anybody else, but I have learned to live a life that honors my heart, my emotions, and still honors my mom. And I'm just happy that I have a God, or that I look up to God, and just to see like, okay, like I can do hard things. Although I didn't really sign up for this, like, okay. And I always say like, okay, like let this be it. Like, God, if you put me through anything else, like if I were to lose anybody else, that's it. Like, God hears me. He knows me. He hears my heart, and he hears my requests and my desires. So he better not. Me talking to the camera like it's God. No, but there's no shame in separating yourself or having those boundaries or needing that alone time for yourself, because Jesus did it too. And this year, I've chosen to honor my mom in different ways. I started the podcast with honoring my mom, because that was the day that I started filming this new season. And I feel better that I could talk about her without falling apart. If you notice that the parts that I'm like getting emotional about are more about like my growth and about where I'm at and how far God has brought me, versus her and how much I miss her and how much my life would be better with her here. No, I let myself smile at who she was and not just grief or cry about her being gone. I I'm doing things that I know that she would be proud of, and maybe I'm doing things that she wouldn't be proud of. But you know what? And this may sound so harsh, but my mom's not here anymore. And I cannot carry that weight of trying to make her proud or to live up to the standard that she had for me. I let myself be proud of how far I've come without her. And I've kept that mentality. And on the days that I do miss her or I think about her, or on anniversaries, it could be cooking her favorite meal or playing her playlist or wearing something of hers. I have some things of hers that, that just bring me a little bit closer. And I still give myself that permission to feel and to miss her, because I'm always going to miss her. I'm always going to miss my mom. And I want this, and if there's anything that you guys could take away from this episode, and this is for anybody that's grieving or you have friends that are grieving, be patient with them. Have space for them. Make space for them. Don't make it a big deal. If anything that I have experienced is that I just hated when I had pity parties or that people felt bad for me. One, because my mom was dead, and then two, because it's public. So it does get a little bit like overwhelming. So make space for them, but don't be overwhelming. If you are that friend that hasn't experienced grief, again, just check in on your people without doing too much. Do not, just open that door. Just be like, hey, I'm here for you if anything. And that's it. And if they feel comfortable enough to share with you, or they like, hey, come over, I need a hug today, allow that space for them. And just a subtle reminder to be kind to everybody. Not everyone is in the same space or in the same journey as you, and everybody's grief looks different. So just be kind, whether it's been years or not. I do feel like that pain is always going to linger. So you guys, I know people are like, have commented like, hey, like, okay, get over it. We're still talking about this. And along with that, like, I do want to say, for myself, I do think that this is going to be the last annual episode, or maybe I'm speaking too soon. But as of right now, where I'm feeling, I feel like I've made my mom and my grief my identity for so long. And because I'm not in that space anymore, I want to make space to talk about other things, about the growth and the healing that I have found in these situations. And also really stop talking about it, because I feel like talking about it makes me more sad or reminds me of the pain. And it's like, no, like I worked so hard to find this healing, to grow from it, that I don't need to be reminded or force myself to be in these situations because people are expecting me to be la pobrecita, or, and I think that applies in my situation because of who my mom is, and because of because that it's so public and it's a reminder all the time, and she has this legacy, she's an artist, that people expect me like, oh, they're probably having a hard time. And I appreciate the comments and I love it. But then there's also the people that like are like, ew, like she's really happy today. Isn't she supposed to be sad? Or like, So I kind of want to step away from that and make space for future things, because this isn't my story anymore. This isn't who I am. It's not, although it was a huge part of my story for a long time, I've just recognized that I need to step away. And I know that this sounds bad and people may take this out of context, but I'm kind of tired. I'm kind of tired of talking about it, of making it so much about that. But this is where I'm at in my grief. And I'm not saying that I'm tired of talking about my mom. I'm forever going to love my mom and have the memories that I had with her. And I will always speak on the woman that she is and respect her. But I'm talking about the grief aspect. Like, I'm just tired of talking about it. I'm tired of people seeing me and then seeing the grief girl. And I don't want that. With that being said, for anybody grieving or feeling the same way that I have been for years, you are allowed to grow. You are allowed to heal. You're allowed to smile again. And you're allowed to still break down sometimes. And that's okay. Grief doesn't mean you stop living. It means you carry the love in a different way, in a different form, and you live with it. You move on with it. Don't let that sadness or that grief stop you from living out the full purpose that you have designed for your life. And if there's anything that I can leave you guys with is a sweet little Bible verse. The Bible verse of the day is Psalms 34:18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. And I really kept this Bible verse close to me, or I've read it thousands of times. And it's just so beautiful to know that because Jesus went through the same thing that we have all gone through, or some of us, having something to compare and to realize like, wow, it's just powerful to know that there's somebody out there that loves you enough to, one, die for you, and two, to hold you so close to your heart that God takes all that pain and all that hurting with him and replaces it with peace and love. And those that are hurting over and over and over again, just run to Jesus, run to his heart, run to who he is, and just ask him, God, comfort me in this grief. God, bring me the peace that I need. Give me the answers that I'm asking for, God, in your way. Let me not step out of my will. Let me not step out of your will, but keep me focused on your purpose and your plan for my life. And just holding the word, holding that Bible verse specifically close to your heart as a reminder that God is always there. And every single emotion and every single journey, he is there. And he's close to the brokenhearted and the people that are hurting, and especially the widows, the orphans, just you in general. But yeah, thank you guys so much for letting me share this part of my journey with you guys. Maybe this is the last time we talk about it. Maybe this is the last time we talk about the grief. Maybe, I don't know, when it's 15 years, we'll revisit the situation and see where we're at. But I have a life to live. I have beautiful things coming my way. And although you guys probably love hearing me talk about grief and how I've grown and learned, I do think that it's time to step away and step into a new chapter and in a new season. And whether this is your first year grieving or your 13th year, I hope you know that you are not alone. Life is meant to keep going and keep pushing, and whatever grief looks like for you, I pray that you find grace for yourself. And if you have anybody that is experiencing grief, that you have grace for them and open that space for them to be with them and to hug them. And although that this might be the last time that I talk about it, I'm always going to care and love for my mother and who she was in my life, and forever be grateful, because honestly, that is where the journey of this podcast started. So yeah, with that being said, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe to this episode, to the channel, to wherever you guys are watching. Make sure you guys spread a little love. And I will see you guys next Tuesday. Bye.